Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about my experience at Ottawa Comiccon. And yes, this is the reason that I didn't put out a video last week. I had planned on making a video, but I was working on a costume and it came to a point where I had to choose between my costume and the video, and the costume won. I probably should have worked on the costume a lot earlier and a lot more frequently, but I didn't. There's nothing really more motivating than seeing an approaching deadline. So Ottawa Comiccon runs on the same weekend as Mother's Day, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I only ever really go on Saturday. I find that it's really expensive to go for 3 days in a row. Plus, I find, once you've done one day, you've basically seen everything there. It's not like a huge con. But they had lots of stuff there this year that I hadn't seen before. I did miss 2 years. I think it was last year and the year before that. I usually base my decision on if I'm going to go on who's going to be there during the Q&As, like what actors are going to be there. And I think the last 2 years it just wasn't that exciting. So I'm just going to go through the program and just kind of talk about some of the actors who were there this year. I did see Finn Jones. He was the last Q&A that we saw on Saturday, and he did a really good job. I really liked his Q&A. And Jason Momoa was supposed to do a Q&A, but it got canceled like an hour before. That was really annoying. He was, I guess, the biggest actor that we were going to see that day, and we hadn't seen him before. We were really excited, and then it got canceled. He was signing autographs, like they have autographs areas, like booths set up, and from what I gathered, he basically had a lot of people lined up who wanted to get signatures and autographs, or that's the same thing. He had a lot of people who wanted to get autographs and I guess photos. I don't know exactly what he was doing that day. And so they canceled his Q&A so he could do that instead, which is just kind of unfair. So the tickets for Comic-Con are non-refundable, but they're allowed to change the schedule as much as they want, even when you're there, which isn't really fair. I mean, Q&As with the actors, that's one of the main reasons that I go to Comic-Con. And so when they switch around the schedule so much and cancel these things, I don't know. It's just like, part of it's like, why did I go? Like, why did I go to this event if I don't even get to see the thing that I paid to see? So yeah, that was really unfortunate. Okay, so on this page, there's some people that I did get to see and someone who I was supposed to see, and it got switched on the schedule. So at the top here is Jewel State, and obviously from like Firefly and a bunch of other stuff. I've seen her before. She came to Ottawa a few years ago, and I really liked her Q&A, and she was also there with Nathan Fillion. So they got up on stage and did a Q&A together, which was really awesome. And like I said, Jewel's always really awesome to see. She's really entertaining and friendly, and yeah, if I had the extra money, I would love to go get her autograph and get a photo with her just to be able to talk with her some more. I also got to see Julian Glover, and his Q&A was really good too. He talked about his role in Indiana Jones, and my friend that I went with was really excited about that because he came to the convention dressed up as Indiana Jones. And I was supposed to see Brent Spiner again. I saw him at one of the first cons I went to, and I didn't get to see him because they moved his Q&A to Friday. And when I bought the ticket, it said that he was going to be there Saturday, and so I didn't get to see him. I mean, I did see him before a few years ago, so that wasn't too bad. But I really wanted to see him because I loved his Q&A last time. So that was also really disappointing that I didn't get to see him. I think that's all the Q&As that we did this year. And this year I decided to go in costume, and I made my own costume, which I haven't done at one of the Ottawa Comic-Cons before, any Comic-Con before. I don't know exactly what made me decide to do that. I just kind of decided I wanted to dress up this year. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I went as Leia from Return of the Jedi on Endor. So I'll talk a little bit about my costume and how I made it. So the main part of my costume was the poncho that she wears. It's a camo colored poncho that she wears in the forest. and I decided that I was going to knit most of the like important parts of my costume. So I knit the entire poncho that she wears. I decided to make up this pattern. I didn't really look to see if there was a pattern already somewhere online that I could buy or look at for free, but I just decided to design it because it didn't seem like it would be too difficult. It's mostly just a large rectangle with a hole in the middle that I made a hood for, and it has a bit of a cowl on the neck too. And luckily for me, it fit me perfectly and it looked good. This probably cost me, how much yarn did I buy? I think I spent about $18 on yarn for this. And it was really comfortable to wear. It did get a little bit warm when I was walking around in the convention area, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. And I also made the holster for my blaster as well as a little pouch to keep some stuff in. So I just used an old belt that I had lying around my house. I thought about knitting one, but I started to run out of time, so I couldn't do that. So I just used this old belt. And I think it worked fine. So that's the holster for my blaster. I don't know if you can see because it's black, but this was really annoying because, so I don't recommend knitting a holster. It fits the blaster well, and overall it worked really well. But the only issue is when I pulled the blaster out to show people it or to pose for a picture or something, it would get like caught on the stitches. So yeah, it would get caught on the stitches, and then, you know, that doesn't look very cool when you're trying to get your blaster out. And like, it should be like a swift motion, and instead I'm like trying to pick all these stitches off of all the parts that stick out. I tried last minute, like the night before, to hot glue some fabric inside so that it would come out smoothly, and like it did help a bit, but honestly I didn't do that good of a job and it still got caught in some areas. And then I also made a little pouch. It just has 2 buttons on it, and then there's the flap, and you can just put stuff inside. So this was really important because I didn't want to have a purse with me so that my costume would look a little bit more authentic. So I just kept like, you know, my lip gloss, my debit card, stuff like that in here. Most of the time when I was there, I just put my phone in my back pocket or had it in my hand. And the boots were just my winter boots. I already had them and they worked well for the costume. And then for her pants, I wasn't really happy with what I did for the pants. She's wearing this like, it's hard to tell if it's like light blue or gray colored pants, and then they have this like really light yellow stripe going down the side of them. Anyway, I had these old stretchy like blue jean leggings, so I just used those and painted a yellow stripe, and honestly I'm not really happy with how this looks. It looks kind of bad, but I don't know. If I had all the time in the world and if I had planned ahead a little better, I think it would have been cool to do like yellow flower embroidery all down the side here instead. That would have looked so cool, and it would have gone really well with my theme of like crafting, like with the knitted poncho. But like I said, I ran out of time. I didn't plan it very well, so I just used some fabric paint and just painted a yellow stripe down the side of some old jeans. But the pants are really comfortable, so that's good. And then this is my blaster. So this was probably one of the easier things from my costume. All I did was I went on Amazon and I found a toy, Leia's blaster. It's just a toy of Leia's blaster. This one is like the official Disney, official Disney blaster toy company. I forget what it's called. So I got it and I painted it black. I just used like a sponge brush to try to get in all the little crevices, and then I used a small brush to get into all the parts that I couldn't reach. And then I also bought a silver thing of acrylic paint, and I just kind of went over all the edges lightly and kind of put marks wherever I thought it would get scuffed, and like on the rivets or screws or whatever on the handle. When you bring something like this to Ottawa Comiccon, you have to go to weapons check, and fortunately for me, I didn't have to go there. I was just waiting in line, and there were people walking by the line just kind of checking everyone's weapons, and they just kind of make sure that they follow the rules. Like you can't have, if you have like a Nerf gun, you're not allowed to have any of the actual, what do you call it, like the foam bullets, whatever. And then they just put a zip tie around the handle, which is kind of weird. You would think that they would put something I don't know, something a little different than a zip tie. Like anyone could put a zip tie on their thing and say that they went to weapons check already. It did scuff the paint a little bit around the trigger, but I don't think it was that noticeable. My paint job wasn't that great. It probably would have been better if I had sanded the surface a little bit, but I was lazy and I was like, acrylic will stick to it fine, and overall it was okay. I just needed it to last the one day, and I brought a permanent marker with me just in case I needed to like touch up any of the black, but I didn't end up needing it. Plus now I got a blaster, which is really fun. James has been playing with this a lot more than I have. He keeps picking it up and shooting random things around the house. And one thing that happened that I was really excited about is somebody actually wanted to take my picture, so that was really flattering. I think that if you don't knit, you might not be as interested in my costume and the work that went into it, which is fine. But this one lady came up to me, and I'm assuming that she was a knitter, and she just like asked me if she could take my picture to like show her friends, I guess. And she was talking about my hair and how I had, oh yeah, I didn't even talk about my hair. So my hair is like fairly long, but it's not long enough for that hairstyle that Leia has on Endor. So I know this trick that you can do where you braid yarn or like another kind of string into your hair, and it'll add color, but you can also like lengthen your hair because the end of it can just be yarn. So I did that with my hair, and I used the same yarn that I used for the poncho. So this woman was asking about my hair like after she took my picture, and I was telling her like, oh, my hair's not long enough, so I put some yarn in it, and she was saying how that was a cool idea. Somebody also asked to get a picture with Dan dressed as Indiana Jones, which is cool. That happened, he wore that costume once before at one of the other Ottawa Comiccons that we went to, so he got asked to get a picture taken of him there too. And when we were there, we saw lots of really cool stuff just on the sales floor, I guess you could call it. They had a bunch of booths that I had never seen before at one of these conventions. One thing that was really cool is there's this company called Canada Computers. They just sell like computer stuff, like electronics. And they had a booth there where if you signed it, like you just gave them your email address for like their mailing list. And they had a big green screen, and you could stand in front of it, and they would tell you to do 3 different poses. And they put you into this like little comic. They printed it out and they gave it to us, and they said they'd email it, but I haven't gotten my email yet. Anyway, so this is my friend Dan, and he dressed up as Indiana Jones, and that's his comic, and it is so funny. I love that he's running away from the robot. And then this is mine. I think mine's pretty cool. I don't really like the last picture. My pose is kind of weird. And like, I like the one where I'm shooting the robot, but I'm totally shooting over it. But at least my pose looks cool in that one. There was also a booth where they had that new VR game where you're like, it's like Ninja Rock Band or like Ninja Guitar Hero, where like you're cutting up blocks. So basically, when you're looking in the VR screen, you have these like swords, I guess, and you're cutting up blocks to the music, and I don't know how to explain it. It's like you have a red one and a blue one, and you have to hit the cubes that are the same color. When you go to some of the harder levels, you also have to like follow the arrows and slash in the direction of the arrows. So Dan got to try that, which is really cool, and I have a video of him doing that.
You can if you want, but the leaderboard is only for this song in the party. So
okay, is that, yeah.
You can play for fun. I mean, you can do it as much as you want. That's really the line.
Okay.
But if you want to have fun and put it in,
it looks really funny when you're watching someone do it, because I feel like when you're playing the game, you feel like really cool moving around and like slicing all the blocks, and it probably feels like you have a lot of energy. But watching him play, it just looks like he's moving so slowly. He did make it onto the leaderboard. He was in 3rd place, but we went really early in the day to that booth, so by the end of the day, he was gone. I didn't get a chance to try it, which is really sad because I kind of wanted to. But you have to put the like headset over your head, and I was just terrified that I would wreck my hair, and that just wasn't worth it for me. I wanted to look really good all day. But it was cool that I got to see him play. And we saw lots of really cool stuff for sale. And then outside of the event, they had this tent set up that had a whole bunch of like night fighting things happening. So they had like all these seats, like these stands that we could sit in. When we first got in, they had this roped off area in the middle with these, with a bunch of kids in there, and they all had like foam mallets and shields, and they had helmets, and they were just beating the crap out of each other. And then at some point they did a demonstration where there were two guys dressed up as knights, and they came out and they hit each other really hard.
This is so funny.
Broke his wrist. He's dead. Holy smokes.
That first smack of the sword on the shield was so jarring. I didn't expect it to be so loud. They did a really good job. They didn't do any like competitive stuff, so they weren't like gonna declare a winner or anything. They were just doing a demonstration. But man, it looks really dangerous. And sometimes they swing and they're not even looking at the other person. So I was just, I don't know, I was worried that one of them was gonna get a sword in the eye or something. I think that's everything I have to talk about that happened at the convention this year. We had a lot of fun going there, and I wish we could have stayed longer. We didn't get to see the masquerade, which started at like 6 or something, but I was just exhausted. I was so ready to leave. I had only gotten like 3 hours of sleep the night before, and I was surviving on Red Bull. So I was starting to get really irritated, and I knew that it was time to go. Anyway, let me know if you went to Ottawa Comiccon this year, and if you saw anything that I didn't talk about or that I missed. And let me know if you dressed up and what you dressed up as. Or maybe if you went to any other convention, maybe tell me like what kind of stuff happens at the ones in your city where you're from. And yeah, stuff like that. And if you like this video, please give it a thumb up. And if you are not subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye!